those that you would have and that you would most desire to be in these different offices. We bless you and thank you for it. In Jesus' name, amen. One scripture before we go on, I think I've always liked the scripture because I think it speaks so much to our system here in America, and that's from Acts chapter 6. Acts chapter 6 and verse 3. Very simple, and this is the way God would have us to do it. And it says, "Wherefore, brethren, look ye out among you 7 men of honest report, full of the Holy Ghost and wisdom, whom we may appoint over this business." And so right here, it tells us that the people get to choose their own leaders, all right? And so that's what our vote is about. Our vote is sacred, and we should treat it as such. Okay, again, we're using the Arkansas Voters Guide, and let's just go over how to use the Voters Guide first. First of all, and this is again produced by Family Council of Arkansas. And you can download this at arkansasvotersguide.com. So right here, if you look, here it just gives some information. Then in the solid blue area where my finger's pointing to, it tells us the keys on how to read the Voters Guide. When you look at it, you start looking at it, different questions are asked of candidates, and they can answer one of several ways, or if they don't answer, it'll say candidate refused to answer. But if it's an S, candidate supports the statement. If it's a U, candidate is undecided. If it is just like a circle or an O, candidate opposes the statement. If it's got the star looking thing, candidate made written comment, and you can go online and you can see those written comments also. So candidate made written comments, and you can read them at arkansasvotersguide.com, or you can call 501-375-7000. So again, that's 501-375-7000. All right, so let's take a look at the federal races on the first page there. And we'll look at the federal races. And in the House, Arkansas has 4 congressional districts, districts 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it'll start there with District 1. There are 3 people running in the race for District 1. And that's Rick Crawford, who's the Republican candidate from Jonesboro, Rodney Govins, he's the Democrat candidate from Cabot, and Steve Parsons, he's the Libertarian candidate from Lakeview. Now, let's look at what the issues, the questions that are going to be asked, and that's right across the top there, all right? So the first question, and this would be the same for all of them, so we'll read these once and then we won't go again like that. So the first question is about abortion. The U.S. Supreme Court 2022 Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization abortion decision. And so what it's saying is, do you agree with that decision, the Dobbs decision or not? And if you'll recall, the Dobbs decision overturned Roe v. Wade, and it did not eliminate abortion like a lot of people have said it eliminated abortion. It did not. It sent the abortion issue back to the states, okay? So there are lots of states that still have abortion. Thank God Arkansas is not one of those states. All right? The next question about abortion, constitutional amendment, that our government should have to do like our households, that is, balance their budget. We are $31 trillion in debt as a nation. And that is because we don't balance our budget. And they continue to have these, Congress keeps wanting to pass these continuing resolutions, which allows them to continue to operate without ever having to balance the budget. So I know I changed that one a little bit, but I think most agree that we can't just go spend, or we don't have our lights on, and the federal government should have to do the same thing. But it would take a constitutional amendment, all right? So now you know where I would vote on that. Okay, next thing is you continue military aid to Ukraine for the conflict with Russia. Americans are split on that. So, you know, however you feel about that, take a look and see if that's one that your candidate supports, or does not support, unsure of, did not answer the question. So you just have to take all these together and just look at and not just look at one thing. The next one is foreign policy. Authorizing military action to defend United States allies in the event that China attempts to annex Taiwan. All right? Taiwan is about the only democracy in that area. To the list of protected classes. Do you agree with that or not? That those things should be a protected class. And again, you have to look at your candidate, and there's rarely will you agree with everything with everybody, but you just have to take the whole body of work and see how it comes out. Okay. And I'll just tell you who's running the race, and then you can look over that if you have a question, raise your hand, and want to keep it short and concise. All right, so I told you that in first congressional district who was running there. Let's look at the second congressional district, and it's got the little 2 beside it. You can see here on there, all right? Second congressional district, French Hill, Republican of Little Rock. He has an opponent, Marcus Allen. Marcus A. Jones, Democrat of Little Rock. Just 2 in that race. In the 3rd district, there are 3 running in the 3rd district. The first one is Caitlin Draper, Democrat, Fayetteville. And the next one is Bobby Wilson, Libertarian from Bentonville. And the next one is Steve Womack, Republican from Rogers. All right. Now the other thing is, all the way to the far edge of the names is the telephone number. Okay, so you can call their office if you need to. And let me encourage you to do that. Call their office. All right. They want to hear from you. They want to know what you think about certain things. It helps them out. All right, so let's go down to the next part, which is the Arkansas Supreme Court. The Arkansas Supreme Court. And the questions, again, are across the top. And we'll look at those questions to see what they're asking the candidates. Let me make this comment before I start reading there. We rarely hear much about the Arkansas Supreme Court. And, you know, it is very, very important. You think about, you can work hard, you can elect the people you want in office, they can make the laws that you want made, and then the Supreme Court can overturn it, just like that. Okay, well, maybe not just like that, but they can overturn them. So you want to make sure that you have people on the Supreme Court that are following the Constitution. All right? Did you have a hand up? Excuse me, I can't hear you. Oh, District 4. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you. I was just reminded or told I didn't do District 4. So we'll come back to the Supreme Court. Let's go back up back to the congressional district. Excuse me, and thank you. So District 4, Risey, and if I'm mispronouncing that, it's not on purpose. Risey Howard, Democrat from Pine Bluff. And then the other person running is Bruce Westerman, Republican from Hot Springs. And thank you again. I did skip, went right over top of that. All right. Now, are we ready for the Supreme Court now? Okay. All right. So everything I've already said, the Supreme Court is very, very, very important. Okay. Just like our United States Supreme Court, we've got all these different courts of appeals between it, district courts and so forth. And you know, the Supreme Court has sometimes made bad decisions. And one that always stands out to me is the Dred Scott decision, 1857, when the Supreme Court of the United States of America said that black people were not human as such, but that they were property. That was a decision made by the Supreme Court, and of course, that was overturned later by the Supreme Court. And of course, we had the 14th and 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment that came in to solidify all of that. So let's look at the questions that were asked of the Supreme Court. So which of the following U.S. Supreme Court justices most reflects your judicial philosophy? Now, there are only two, and what they're running for, they're not running to get on the Supreme Court, they're running for the position of Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, okay? That is a critically important position to be Chief Justice. Both of these persons are already on the Supreme Court, okay? So they're already there, they just have to, and that's pretty special that we, as the citizens of Arkansas, get to say who's gonna be the Chief Justice, all right? So that's pretty significant. As you can see, Justice Karen Baker did not answer, let me just read what it says. Candidate refused to complete the survey. Please contact candidate for answer. So we don't know what Justice Karen Baker's answer would be on these, but Justice Rhonda Wood did answer and did put her phone number on there. So she said Samuel Alito to answer question 1. Which of the following U.S. Supreme Court justices most reflects your judicial philosophy? And she said Samuel Alito, okay? And you said, well, what's his judicial philosophy? Again, you're gonna have to do some work on your own. It won't be hard to figure out. The second question, which recent U.S. president most accurately reflects your political philosophy? Again, Baker did not answer. Justice Wood said any president that supports the Constitution's framework, federal government has limited powers, and any not granted to the federal government are reserved to the states and accordingly to the people. That came right out of the Constitution, okay? So that's a great answer there. And then the last question asked of the Supreme Court platform most closely reflects your views on public policy. The Arkansas Supreme Court is nonpartisan, meaning they don't declare a political party. So her answer, Justice Rhonda Wood, answers the party that reflects my view is the one that represents limited government and strict adherence to the liberties secured in our Constitution. That is a great answer. And again, Justice Karen Baker did not send an answer in, but you may call her office and ask those questions of her. Again, we're studying the Arkansas vote. This is a nonpartisan document. You can just go to ArkansasVotersGuide.com. ArkansasVotersGuide.com and download that. All right, let's continue on. Any questions so far? Okay. Let's open up, and this is where it really gets busy. It really gets busy because we have 100 House seats and 35 state Senate seats. We're not going to say what all of these be. We're just going to look at, again, across the top and just kind of give you some instructions on how to get a hold of those. All right? So, there are constitutional offices. So let's look at what we call the constitutional offices, and that is the state treasurer that's up. Not all of them are up, but the state treasurer's office. Special election here because our treasurer passed away, who was elected, passed away shortly after he was elected, and there's a special election for him, his position as state treasurer. Running for those 3 offices, and these look like the same questions that were asked. No, they're different, so we'll look at those. All right, so again, it's for the state treasurer's office, and these also are going to be the same questions for the state senate and the state house, okay? For the state senate and the state house. Number 1, we're going across the top again, abortion. The U.S. Supreme Court's 2022 Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization abortion decision. So again, same thing as what we looked at on the others, on the first page. The next question, abortion. Arkansas's current law that prohibits abortion except to save the life of the mother in a medical emergency. Again, do you agree? Do you support that? Do you oppose that? Are you undecided? Or, did they just not answer it? Okay? So question 3 is on education. The 2023 LEARNS Act passed by the Arkansas legislature that makes comprehensive changes to Arkansas's education laws. And so again, you can see what your candidates, the different candidates, what they think about the LEARNS Act. And of course, that they were the ones that passed the LEARNS Act. So you probably going to get very positive on that. It made some comprehensive changes to education. All right, moving on to the marijuana, legalizing recreational marijuana. Should we, in the state of Arkansas, legalize recreational marijuana? That's going to be another issue we got in one of the ballot issues. That's part of that's going to be about marijuana. One of those will be about marijuana. Guns. Banning firearms that are commonly known as assault weapons. Banning firearms that are commonly known as assault weapons. What do you think about that? Again, you can see each candidate's name and if they answered it, what their answer is. And again, you can also call their office and ask the question if they didn't answer it. The next one is gender identity, prohibiting minors from receiving puberty blockers, hormones, or surgery for the purpose of gender transition. Now, some of these things are just so egregious that I just feel compelled to insert here, because I am not nonpartisan on these type of things here. I just believe very strongly on this. I'm a pastor, and I have some very strong beliefs. So, my friends, we cannot just mutilate our children and try to make them something that God did not make them. So if you need a little help on that one, I've just offered that for you. COVID-19, the next question is about COVID-19. Allowing state government to close private businesses during a health emergency. Let me just say, because we've already been through this, I can make this comment. When you start picking the winners and losers, then everybody loses. Because when you can shut down churches and leave liquor stores and casinos open, then I don't see the health emergency there. So that's a real problem. That's a real problem. All right? Nursing homes. That's the next question. Letting nursing home residents voluntarily place cameras in their own rooms to enable the family members to see and hear them. Okay? So you may feel any kind of way about that. So what would you want I know they do it with daycares. So, you just have to think about that. Would you want to be able, if you had a loved one in a nursing home, would you like to know what's going on with them in their individual room? Would you like to know what's going on with them? So you'll have to answer that question. And again, you can see how the different candidates answered the question, if they did answer it. And then the last question, freedom of information, further amending the Freedom of Information Act, commonly known as FOIA Act, to prevent disclosure of deliberate documents such as government memos and letters as discussed in the special legislative session of 2023. That's another hot topic. The FOIA Act is another hot topic, so whatever you think about that, you'll have to make that decision, okay? As you can see, again, as I stated earlier, we have 100 state reps and 35 state senators, so I'm not gonna go over that whole list of that, but I will look at the state treasurer because that's a special election, because our good friend Mark Lowry, who was our state treasurer, passed away, and so there's a special election to fill his position. It's not a special election, but it's up this term. All right, so state treasurer, there are 3 candidates running: John Pagan, Democrat, Little Rock; Michael Packo, Libertarian of Little Rock; and John Thurston, Republican of Little Rock. All right, so 3 running for that, and you can see how they answered those questions. Then we have the state senate, all those that are running, for those that are running. And you can see their districts are listed, and not all districts are listed because some of them have no opponents, and they're unopposed. And you can mark, you put a check mark on voting for all unopposed, or you just leave it blank. It has no bearing on anything. All right. So let's go and flip to the next page, which just gives you another long list of names, because again, there are 135 legislators altogether. And if we would, go ahead and flip over to the back side, because we want to have some time to spend on these ballot initiatives. And as I stated, these are all the unopposed candidates. That's nice to be unopposed. Okay, so let's go now to the Arkansas ballot issues, and there are 3 ballot issues on this election, in this election. Ballot issues can sometimes be very, very tricky. The names can be so different than what the thing is really about, even though they're supposed to be pretty clear. And again, these are, I believe, all 3. People may be strongly divided in these, and so let's look at what they say. Issue 1, and we'll be taking comments. Issue 1, Arkansas lottery proceed funding for vocational technical school scholarships and grants amendment. So this proposed amendment to the Arkansas Constitution was referred to the ballot by the Arkansas legislators. Issue 1, everybody listen to me closely, Issue 1 would change the Arkansas Constitution to let proceeds from the state lottery fund scholarships and grants for vocational technical schools and technical institutions. I'm going to give you on all 3 of these issues, I'll give you my personal thoughts on these. I think this is an over-the-top, absolutely fantastic idea to allow the scholarship funds to also pay for technical training, technical schools. We used to have, well, I won't say the name of the school, but let's just say, for instance, you want to go to like a nursing school, or you want to go to a technical school where you learn to be a welder, different things like that. I think that's really worthy of getting some assistance. We are so far behind in all those types of jobs. Can't get enough people to work in those fields, and the training is expensive. You want to be an electrician or a plumber, those type things. We are in desperate. When I say we, I'm talking about the state of Arkansas. We are in desperate need for those type of jobs to be filled. Those type of jobs to be filled, and those jobs, some of those jobs takes years of training and going through apprenticeships and so forth before you can, get your. Now I don't know all the things, but I'm just generically speaking. Before you can get your license to be, I think, a master electrician, master plumber, that type of thing like that. So all those different fields. I think that is a great ideal. So for me, individual, Iverson, I'm going to vote for issue 1, because yes, we've already got the scholarship lottery set up. We don't have to go and try to put together a whole new funding mechanism. They would just have to change how and add these schools to it and put out whatever they need to do with the rest of the technical stuff. Any questions or comments on issue 1? Okay. All right. Issue 1 was the easy one. Issue 1 was the common sense one. All right, let's go to issue 2. Issue 2, an amendment requiring local voter approval in a countywide special election, countywide special election for certain new casino licenses, and repealing authority to issue a casino license in Polk County, Arkansas. Okay, let me finish reading it, then I'll give a comment. This proposed amendment to the Arkansas Constitution would remove Polk County as a location where casino gambling is allowed, and it would prevent the Arkansas Racing Commission from authorizing a casino in a community without local voter approval at a special election. Now, where do we start? I think we start with this. People who live in a community should be able to make the decision about what goes in that community. Okay? I don't think it's right we live in Pulaski County, we're located in Pulaski County. For me, I live in Pulaski County, to say that you in Polk County have to have a casino in your backyard. It was just a few years ago. I'll give you a story. We preachers, we tell our stories to kind of connect. It was just a few years ago when in the community that I live in, where they wanted to put up something like a strip club. It was a little bit beyond a nightclub. And the community came together. Nobody was asking who was a Republican, who was a Democrat. We all came together and we petitioned our quorum court, and we got that. And again, let me say this. Nobody was saying who's a Republican, who's a Democrat, because we all live in this community. And so they're going to try to put a strip club in our community, not far from the school, elementary school, just right around the block, okay? And just override the people in the community and put a strip club in. So we came together and we were able to stop that. And I think it would be hypocritical for me to not support this and say that people in Polk or Van Buren or whatever other county there in Jefferson, that you have to have a casino. I don't want it in my backyard. You put it in your backyard. So local control. That's what it's all about. That's what we all fight about, and that's the freedom and liberty to choose what we decide to do as a community. So as for me, I am voting for issue 2, because I don't think anybody in Northwest Arkansas, South Arkansas, Northeast Arkansas should tell Polk County what they can do, that they must have a casino in there. Now, if you can go in, you can go on Family Council website, and they have a lot more information about these issues. They'll get into the discussions of it. Now, and you can also look up who's funding these issues. That tells you a lot about an issue, and that's who's funding it. Now, when I looked up who's funding these issues, I'm saying it kind of funny, slightly comical. There are two Indian tribes. One was for it, one was against it. Both of them have casinos, those two Indian tribes. One was for this issue, one was against it. Now, so, you take that for whatever it means. But the people in XXX County should not be told that they have to have a casino when they overwhelmingly said they did not want a casino. All right? All right. Questions, comments? Okay. I'm mighty quiet tonight. All right. Let me look at the bottom part of this, because it has some of this information that I just mentioned. Issue 2, okay? Issue 2. Listen at this. This ballot issue is sponsored by the group Local Voters in Charge. According to the group's campaign finance reports, they received $5.3 million from the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma as of June 30th. If passed, issue 2 would become part of Arkansas State Constitution, and it could not be changed without passage of another amendment in a statewide vote. They hired canvassers to gather enough petition signatures to place the amendment on the ballot. Okay? All right. It is something how you have all these out-of-state entities that come and pump a lot of money into a state, and you wonder why are they interested in our little state pumping all this money? Well, if they're putting a bunch of money in it, you better believe they're going to get a whole bunch more out. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Issue 3. Arkansas Medical Marijuana Amendment of 2024. Here we go with marijuana. One of the things, as you may have thought about, once you open the door to something, it is very difficult to close it again. And these issues usually start with, oh, we just wanted to help people, and yes, I understand that some people are suffering, and it does alleviate, but the motivation, not those people, the motivation behind the people that are pushing these issues. What is their motivation? Well, we know what their motivation is. Now, again, I'm a pastor, and Scripture says, for the love of money is the root of all evil, and that is what prompts them. These people are not concerned about your health.
No, they're not.
So, this proposed state constitutional amendment would expand access to marijuana. This amendment makes over 30 changes to the Arkansas Constitution. 30 changes to our Constitution. Okay? The amendment allows a doctor, pharmacist, nurse, practitioner, or physician's assistant to, for any reason, issue a certificate that permits a person to use marijuana for 3 years. For any reason. Now, it sounds like recreational. We're just not calling it that. The amendment allows people to grow marijuana at home. Okay? Adults at any residence would be able to grow and process up to 14 plants. Let me ask you, have y'all ever seen when they do a police bust and of a farm somewhere where they were illegally growing marijuana, or you see where they'll show the cartels and the big, have y'all, I don't want to indict anybody, but if you ever seen a marijuana plant, they're not these little things they have on a t-shirt. These things can grow as big as trees, some trees. And you're talking about you can have 14, that's like having a corn patch. Okay? It's like having a corn patch. What are you gonna do? Go, well, I'm gonna go pick me some marijuana, put it in the freezer for the wintertime. I mean, I don't know. But 14 plants, and remember, we will have no local control because it's in the Constitution. It won't do any good to call you a representative, it won't do any good to call the police, it won't do any good to hire a lawyer because it will be in the Constitution. We lose all control. Can everybody say all?
All.
A-L-L, all control. All right? So let me continue. So it will allow, listen to this, adults at any residence will be able to grow and process up to 14 plants. Now, I'm curious about this, adults. So what if you have more than one adult in a residence? So each adult, mama can have her weed patch, marijuana patch, and papa can have his weed patch. And oh, by the way, if grandma moves in, grandma can have her weed patch. Because it says adults, doesn't it? And you know, the police go up and they go, hey, you got more than, 14 plants. Oh, that 15th one, not mine, that's my wife. All right? So listen to this. It repeals current laws that prohibit marijuana advertising, and it repeals current packaging and labeling standards, which means you can make those marijuana packages look attractive to children. Now, let me say this. We, in this country, we have been through that before. I remember, I was born in 1962, okay? I remember the cigarette advertising and the cigarette, the things that promote smoking. They had the little, like your folks would have little pack of cigarettes, and they actually had packs of candy sticks that looked like a cigarette. And it had a red end to look like fire, and you run around, because almost all the adults were smoking, they run around doing like this, and you had your candy, and what is that doing? It's just priming you to become a smoker and get hooked on is it nicotine? Nicotine. I almost said caffeine, well, coffee and cigarettes. Think about the military, the tobacco industry had a sweet deal. They would put they would put cigarettes in all of the soldiers' meals. They're to-go meals, okay? You had a pack of cigarettes and a pack of matches. How sweet was that deal? Okay? So we've been through this before. We already know what it leads to. Why are we acting like we don't know what this leads to? We know what this leads to. It's going to lead to addiction, dependence, addiction, and a permanent base of customers. For the love of money. Okay? So, let's see. Let me get back to reading this now. So it repeals current laws that prohibit marijuana advertising, and it repeals packaging and labeling standards. The amendment prohibits any additional regulations or taxation of marijuana by the Arkansas legislature. In addition, the amendment changes Article 5, Section 1 of the Arkansas Constitution by making it clear that Arkansas legislators can never change any of our state constitutional amendments. Wow. Yeah, that's in there. This amendment freezes the number of licenses to grow and sell marijuana. Most of the financial support for this amendment has been from the Arkansas marijuana industry, who paid canvassers to gather enough petition signatures to place the amendment on the ballot. So what are they doing? What does that last statement mean that I just read? What they are doing is they are creating their own monopoly. Okay? They're just setting up their own drug kingdom right here in Arkansas. We have some good, how would you like our farmland to become marijuana? You know, you used to driving through and seeing soybeans and corn and cotton and, you know, what else crops? All these other crops, rice, and then you drive by and you got all these marijuana stalks. So this, I aggressively say, vote against this. It would make, again, 30 changes to the Constitution. It will be on the ballot. It may not be valid. We don't know what the court is working on this right now. But just vote against it, just to vote against it. Even if it doesn't count, vote against it. All right? Because they are trying to control Arkansas. A lot of these big money people do that. They'll go to those small states where they can buy advertising really cheap, and at $2 or $3 million, $4 or $5 million is nothing to them. They'll chunk a few $1 million into a little small state and try to take it over. Okay? Now, all right. Any questions, comments?
Now, this Constitution right here, this is the Constitution. Once it get in, if it passes, there's nothing nobody can do to change it, or?
That is correct. That this will be changing the Arkansas state constitution.
Okay.
And that is absolutely correct. Once it gets in there, the legislators cannot change it. You would have to have another constitutional amendment, which means you would have to go out and get a number of signatures, and you know there's a whole list of laws and rules you have to follow to get it back on the ballot again, which may never happen. Of course, the biggest thing is you'd have to have the money to do it, you know, to do that. So the best thing is to not allow it to get on there. So call your friends, call everybody you know, and tell them to vote against issue 3.
And when you
Well, how
don't
would
vote,
it change the law?
Ma'am?
How would it change the law as far as, like your regular law?
It would repeal those laws, it would make those laws void. The question was, how does it change the law? It would make the laws that contradict this, all the laws that contradict this, it would make them void. And so they would just be out the window. Yes.
if you don't vote, it goes to yes. If you don't vote for an issue, it goes to yes.
Oh, she said if you don't vote for an issue, it is like voting yes. Okay, on an issue. So because you don't leave it blank. Vote against this marijuana amendment. Okay. So also on this family guide, it has a QR code. Okay, so you can go on there and download it with the QR code. It'll show you polling locations. You can locate if you don't know who your senator is or what district, House district or Senate district. You can go in there and put your address. It'll tell you what district. Remember, we had the census and the district lines were redrawn. So I know I'm in a different congressional district now. Okay, so make sure. Don't just take it for granted that you're in the same thing. You don't want to get there, particularly on the last day, and find out that you're at the wrong place and it's almost 5 o'clock in the evening. All right. What else? Let's see what else we have. Any other questions, comments on this? Okay. All right then. So everybody feel empowered?
Yeah.
All right. You know what know who your representatives are, your state representatives, your state senates. There are a lot of other races that are going on. Again, you see all different types of signs. I saw some signs for constable. There's signs for the appeals courts, judges. Don't forget about your JPs, your Justice of the Peace. City council races are going on. There are races wherever you live. Make sure that you are tuned in to what's going on in your community. And it's not just these are the races that are pretty much statewide that affect all of us. But in your community, which is probably the most important, thing, because they'll be affecting things that directly touch you. School board elections, those are the lowest turnouts of any election, school board elections. And so just make yourself aware of what's going on in your neighborhood. This again, is a statewide deal, but look at your neighborhood and see who's running. It's not too late to call people. Ask them pointed questions. Don't be afraid to ask them pointed questions, about what they think about this. And if they're running again, if they're an incumbent, if they're running for re-election, you know what that means? That means that they have a voting record. So you can go and look up their voting record, all right? And call them and ask about it. Why did you vote for that a certain way? Because again, you can't run from your voting record. So look it up. Don't give people just a pass. Be an intelligent voter, be an informed voter. All right? Last questions, comments, going once, going twice. We are gone. God bless you. Thank you for being here with us for this special election Wednesday night Bible study. Remember that God, in his word, it says, look out among you and choose your own leaders. God bless you, and choose your own leader.